The four cursuses gather at its bend. The monolith stands a stone's throw from its bank, and between them rises Willie Howe, a chalk mound the size of a small hill, which holds a secret of its own.
When you think of Britain's tallest standing stone, Stonehenge or Avebury might spring to mind. But the truth is far stranger. The tallest monolith stands quietly in a small Yorkshire village, soaring over the roof of a Norman church and holding secrets that defy easy explanation. What if a single stone, weighing over 40 tons and plunged deep into the earth, has witnessed thousands of years of human history without ever revealing its true age or purpose? And what if the landscape surrounding it is shaped by mysterious ancient monuments and legends that still ripple through time? This is the untold story of that stone and its enigmatic valley. The Standing Stone's true mystery. The tallest standing stone in Britain is not found at the famous stone circles of Stonehenge or Avebury. Instead, it quietly towers in the village of Rudston, East Yorkshire, rising higher than the roof of the Norman church that stands beside it. This monolith is made of solid gritstone, standing about 25 feet above ground and weighing roughly 40 tons. What makes it even more astonishing is that, when excavated in the 18th century by a landowner named Sir William Strickland, it was discovered that there was as much stone buried underground as above. Despite its size and prominence, the Rudston monolith carries no clear record or signature of who raised it or when. For more than 13 centuries, Christians have shared the sacred space with this stone rather than remove it. The Saxons affixed a cross to its worn crown, and the Normans built All Saints' Church in its shadow. Neither attempted to dislodge or destroy it, suggesting a deep respect or fear surrounding this ancient monument. The mystery deepens when we realize that no scientific test can directly date the stone itself. Unlike pottery or bone, a bare slab of rock yields no clues to its age until contextual evidence is found nearby. Archaeologists attribute the likely date of the monolith's erection based on the surrounding landscape, linking it to monuments thought to have been built around 2500 BCE. But this is an informed guess rather than a definitive answer. Surveyors who have examined the stone also note that its top is blunt and worn, hinting it was once taller, possibly close to 28 feet, before centuries of weather erosion. This weathering acts like a hidden clock without numbers, a silent witness to the deep passage of time, yet impossible to read with certainty. There is simply no way to say how many centuries have flattened its tip or how long it has stood guarding this small valley. What remains certain is the weight of the mystery resting here. Hands unknown to history raised this massive stone without wheel or iron tools, completed a ritual labor unseen anywhere else in such a scale, and left a monument that has defied removal for over a millennium. No name, no inscription, no legend recorded in a meaningful way accompanies it. Only the stone and the church that refused to replace it. Many pass by without knowing the village exists, and even fewer realize that the Rudston monolith is Britain's tallest standing stone. It is a quiet giant in a quiet place, where the ordinary looks mask extraordinary secrets. The true story of this stone is locked behind layers of earth, time, and unspoken human history waiting to be uncovered. This immense monolith stands at the center of a landscape that itself is strange and compelling. The land around Rudston is marked not just by a single megalith, but by a complex pattern of monuments whose scale and intention are difficult to grasp. Together, they form a narrative that stretches far beyond the stone itself, an ancient story etched on the chalklands of Yorkshire. To understand why this solitary stone remains the tallest and perhaps the most puzzling, we must look outward from the churchyard, beyond the stone's shadow, and start connecting the threads that the ancient builders left across the land. Their labor was immense, and their message, though silent, draws together the land itself. With this in mind, the next discovery in this valley might just turn everything we know about these ancient monuments on its head. Ancient monuments converge here, Aerial photographs taken during dry summers reveal markings invisible to the eye for thousands of years. Over the fields surrounding Rudston, faint lines appear in the ripening crops, straight, lengthy, and far too deliberate to be mere field boundaries. Archaeologists, tracing these lines on the ground, uncovered enormous monuments known as cursus. These great parallel earthworks stretch for miles, enclosing vast areas, and rank among Britain's oldest large-scale prehistoric structures. Remarkably, at least 4 separate cursus monuments converge on the very bend of the small valley where Rudston sits. This concentration is unique in Britain. While Stonehenge is associated with one major cursus, Rudston boasts 4. The longest stretches well over 1.5 miles across the chalk landscape. They do not appear random or scattered, but were clearly planned as an interconnected system. What is most striking is not just their size, but the immense effort required to build them. The ditches were painstakingly dug through solid chalk, using only red deer antler picks. The extracted chalk spoil was carried in baskets and arranged into banks, yard after yard, over miles. This monumental task was accomplished without metal tools or machinery, relying entirely on human organization, determination, and purpose. Despite their scale and craftsmanship, the reason for these cursus remains one of archaeology's enduring enigmas. These earthworks do not resemble defensive structures or straightforward settlements. Instead, many scholars believe they served as ceremonial or processional pathways, places where ancient communities walked in ritual or marked significant spiritual events. A detailed study published in the Oxford Journal of Archaeology employed computer modeling of the Rudston landscape, revealing a deliberate alignment. Sightlines from the cursus matched the position of burial mounds on the horizon, suggesting that the builders designed the entire valley as a composed, sacred space spanning miles. This was not scattered construction, but a monumental landscape artfully arranged with purpose. Yet, this theory also raises more questions. Why did the cursus run so straight for miles in some places and bend sharply in others? Why does one cursus near Rudston even include a deliberate dogleg, as if steered towards something special? The valley's design challenges our understanding and demands an explanation beyond traditional ritual pathways. The focal point of this elaborate composition is the unassuming bend in the valley, where all 4 cursus converge. Here, attention centers on the tallest monolith in Britain. It stands precisely at this convergence, like a celestial marker in a grand terrestrial design. Its presence, silently commanding, suggests it was integral to whatever meanings the cursus held. This vast labor concentrating on a single small place hints at a powerful ancient purpose. It's as if the entire landscape was crafted to draw the eye and perhaps the spirit to the stone itself. Yet, the full story behind these monumental enclosures and their destination remains frustratingly out of reach. The valley itself seems to resonate with intent and mystery, a silent expanse filled with traces of a forgotten ritual world. The standing stone and its vast neighbors set a stage for a greater revelation, one that teases us with both presence and absence. Dating dilemmas and lost time. As we ponder the Rudston monolith's place at the heart of this prehistoric stage, one question stands out. How old is this stone, really? Conventional wisdom places its erection around 2500 BCE, placing it roughly in the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age. But that timeline rests on indirect evidence, not precise dating of the stone itself. Unlike organic artifacts, a bare stone offers no direct method for dating. There are no chemical signatures or radioactive isotopes that reveal the moment it was stood upright. Instead, archaeologists must rely on the context around it. Charcoal from burning, bones from burials, and pottery shards, none of which have provided airtight connections to the stone's exact age. In other words, the date assigned to the Rudston monolith is an educated guess grounded in its archaeological neighborhood. Adding to the uncertainty, is the stone's ragged, worn top, which suggests it once stood taller, perhaps close to 28 feet. We know that weather slowly erodes gritstone, but nobody can say with any accuracy how many centuries it has taken to wear down the 3 feet now missing from its summit. This erosion, like a clock with no hands, allows for a vast window of possible ages. Nearby sites complicate the picture further. About 15 miles from Rudston lies Star Carr, home to one of Britain's oldest known hunter-gatherer camps. Dated to 11,000 years ago, people living there built shelters, crafted timber tools, and engaged in ritual behaviors, indicating the region was sacred and inhabited long before the currently presumed date of the Rudston stone. Some have argued this creates room to imagine a much older age for the monolith. However, skeptics raise another point. The stone is gritstone, and the closest natural source is about 10 miles north at Caton Bay. Geologists suggest the monolith may have arrived not by human hands dragging it, but as a glacial erratic, left stranded by ice sheets thousands of years ago. If that is the case, the mystery deepens. Glaciers do not stand stones upright. They only deposit them lying flat. Someone must have found this massive slab, cut a deep socket into the chalk to receive it, and lifted it to a vertical position so perfectly that it has remained standing for millennia without toppling. To move and erect a 40-ton monolith without the wheel, iron tools, or writing is nothing short of extraordinary. We lack records to tell us how many people labored, or how many generations passed between the stone's erection and the early Cursus ditch constructions converging upon it. Yet, it is clear the builders chose this location with remarkable precision, guided by the landscape, the waterways, and a vision we no longer fully understand. The passage of time only thickens the air of mystery. The monolith might be among the oldest standing stones in Britain, or it might be younger but deeply connected to an ancient landscape whose sacred character persists across millennia. Either way, it commands respect, curiosity, and a cautious search for answers that lie buried beneath centuries of soil and legend. As the stone stands silent, the valley around it hums with whispers of ancient labor, intentional design, and the deep passage of lost time, a prologue to the even stranger elements yet to be uncovered. The role of Ice Age glaciers. The Rudston monolith is made of gritstone, and its nearest natural source lies roughly 10 miles to the north at Caton Bay on the Yorkshire coast. This proximity has fueled geological debates about whether the stone was hauled there by human effort or simply left behind by Ice Age glaciers. During the last glacial period, giant glaciers scoured and transported massive rocks across Britain, potentially depositing erratics unexpected places. It is entirely possible that the slab was one such erratic, carried from its origin and stranded on the chalky plains near Rudston. Yet, a glacier alone cannot explain the stone's vertical placement. Glaciers deposit rocks lying flat, with no capacity to plant a 40-ton monolith upright into the ground. That critical detail places responsibility on humans who must have found the massive slab, cut a deep socket in the earth to hold it, and hefted it into a standing position, an engineering feat of remarkable precision and power. This effort, accomplished without the wheel, iron tools, or written plans, speaks to an advanced form of organization and ritual importance, though the how remains elusive. The undertaking would have required coordinated labor across multiple generations, potentially hundreds or even thousands of years. The construction of the Cursus earthworks nearby already demonstrates the scale of communal work possible in this region during prehistoric times. Erecting the monolith demanded not only muscle, but knowledge of leverage and placement. Preserving the stone so securely, it has stood for millennia through wind, rain, and time itself. This blend of geological happenstance and human determination creates one of the most compelling paradoxes of the monument. The stone might have arrived naturally, but it was humans who gave it meaning and permanence. In this way, the Rudston monolith bridges natural history and human history, making it not just an artifact of stones, but an emblem of enduring human purpose. Moreover, the decision to stand the monolith exactly where four curses converge hints that it was more than a mere marker. It was chosen, placed, and institutionalized within the landscape's sacred geography. Every aspect, the stone, the socket in the earth, the surrounding earthworks, speaks of intention, rooted in religious or cosmological significance, though the full interpretation remains lost to time. Modern science appreciates how glaciers shaped much of Britain's geography, yet the superimposition of such an enormous human-made monument on a glacial deposit spotlights the dynamic interplay between nature and culture. This relationship is critical in understanding how prehistoric peoples engaged with their environment, not simply adapting to it, but reshaping it with symbolic acts of construction. Was the stone's gritstone quality significant to its selection? Did prehistoric builders recognize its geological origins, or value it simply for size and form? Each unanswered question adds depth to the mystery and invites us to appreciate the monolith as a silent witness to both natural forces and human will. While the stone itself endures, the story of those hands and minds remains veiled, passed down only through the very land they shape. This silent partnership of ice and human labor transformed a random block into a towering symbol whose meaning echoes across millennia. Standing at the foot of the monolith, one sees not just rock, but the interwoven legacy of glaciers and ancient craft, a marker on a landscape shaped as much by Earth's force as by human conviction. The next clue, hidden in the flow of water nearby, offers a different kind of motion, a flowing pulse beneath this still and stoic stone. The valley's living water twists the story in ways the stone alone cannot, revealing natural rhythms and local legends that have kept the monument's meaning alive in unexpected ways. The mysterious river and local legends. Rudston's landscape is not only marked by stone and earthworks, but also by a curious river known as the Gypsy Race. This stream defies the usual patterns of flowing water, disappearing underground into the porous chalk before re-emerging miles downstream. It flows according to rhythms hidden deep within the earth, appearing and vanishing with the seasons in a phenomenon known as a winterborn. Locals have watched the Gypsy Race for centuries, observing that when the river floods, called the Woe Waters, disaster seems to follow. Folklore recounts that the stream rose before the Great Plague in 1665 and again before each of the World Wars. While these may sound like superstitions, the consistency and longevity of such beliefs speak to a deep community connection to the land and water's caprices. The river's name itself carries mystery. Gypsy here has nothing to do with travelers. It derives from an old Yorkshire word for a spring bursting suddenly from dry ground, as if by a visitation. This implies the water's behavior was so unusual and impactful that it became woven into local language and imagination. The valley's spiritual geography includes this river as a living, moving element in a landscape otherwise dominated by ancient stones and earthworks. The prehistoric monuments of the region are strung like beads along this river's course. Near the springs of the Gypsy Race sits Duggleby Howe, one of Britain's largest round barrows. The Cursus monuments cluster around the river's bends, and the Rudston monolith stands just a stone's throw from the water's edge. Nearby rises Willie Howe, a chalk mound about the size of a small hill, enclosing an underground shaft instead of a burial chamber, an empty monument whose purpose remains unknown. Victorian excavations into Willie Howe unearthed no bones, ashes, or artifacts, only that mysterious shaft carved into the chalk beneath. This emptiness is itself a puzzle, a significant effort invested around something unseen, suggesting ritual or symbolic intent rather than mere burial. Such anomalies mean the river valley is more than a site of ancient remains. It is a place of enduring enigma. In the 12th century, William of Newburgh, a historian born in this district, recorded accounts of strange happenings near Willie Howe, voices, singing, and feasting inside the mound, encounters impossible by normal means. Local tales tell of beings that could not cross the running waters of the gypsy race, reinforcing the idea of the river as a natural boundary between worlds. The incidence of such stories across centuries highlights how integral the river is to the valley's atmosphere of mystery. It is both natural hazard and spiritual signifier, a moving element that contrasts with the unyielding stone but nonetheless commands profound respect. Together, these features, the monolith, the cursus, the empty mound, and the capricious river, compose a landscape alive with meaning that modern science and history only begin to touch. The gypsy race reminds us that in this valley, water has rhythm and voice, and its flow marks time just as surely as the eroded stone. As the river courses past the churchyard and the monolith, it carries the stories and warnings of the land itself, linking past to present. Its presence raises questions that ripple through the valley, suggesting the ancient builders responded not only to the earth beneath their feet, but also to the waters that moved beside them. The stone's silence invites us to listen to that water, where some of the valley's oldest secrets continue to flow. Fire from the sky. On the 13th of December, 1795, a shocking event shook the quiet fields near the village of Wold Newton, just a few miles from Rudston. A farmhand working nearby suddenly heard a crack in the air, and the ground beside him violently erupted, throwing soil and rocks upon him. When the dust settled, it revealed a fresh crater in the field. A black stone lay half buried at its base, still warm from its fiery descent. This was no ordinary rock, it had just fallen from the sky. What makes this event even more remarkable is what followed. Edward Topham, the local landowner and magistrate, took the situation seriously. He collected sworn statements from witnesses, meticulously examined the site, and preserved the stone. His careful documentation helped prove to learned societies that meteorites, stones from space, really do fall to Earth, overturning centuries of skepticism among European scientists and scholars. A monument was raised in 1799 on the impact site, and today it still stands as a testament to that extraordinary celestial visitor. The black stone itself was transported to the Natural History Museum in London, where it remains a prized specimen and a tangible connection to that extraordinary winter day. The villagers' experiences gave the sky's mysterious light and fire a real event to anchor them to, an intersection of folklore and undeniable fact. This event echoes deeper truths about the Rudston Valley, which for centuries has been wrapped in tales of strange lights and unexplained fires in the heavens. The meteorite fall stands as a moment when the sky was put on trial and, by eyewitness evidence, won its case. This bridging of ancient oral traditions and documented history enriches the valley's enigmatic reputation. Into modern times, the valley has earned the nickname the Bermuda Triangle of the East Coast, due to frequent reports of strange aerial phenomena. Researcher Paul Sinclair has dedicated years to collecting local testimonies of low-moving lights seen above the ancient sites, electrical devices malfunctioning mysteriously, and visitors feeling unexpected jolts near the monolith. These ongoing accounts create a layer of living mystery that threads through generations, untouched by scientific confirmation but firmly held in community memory. The repeated failures of cameras and vehicles close to the stone and nearby monuments suggest, to some witnesses, a palpable energy field surrounding the sites. Complaints of static electricity jolts upon touching the monolith add to this impression. Sensory moments like these blur the line between legend and experience, transforming the stone from a silent relic into an active participant in local lore. On the other hand, one persistent rumor about the stone, that it bears fossilized dinosaur footprints, was robustly debunked. In 2015, English Heritage employed advanced laser scanning and photogrammetry to create a detailed three-dimensional model of the stone's surface. Their findings revealed no footprints or carvings, only natural weathering and marks from ancient quarrying attempts. This correction helps clear away myth and focuses attention on the stone's real, tangible mysteries. What remains in the valley is a blend of documented phenomena, witness testimony, and long-standing folklore, each reinforcing the other, yet resisting simple explanation. The meteorite event anchors the sky's influence in observable history, while the continuous stream of reports keeps the sense of wonder and uncertainty alive. Rudston's reputation as a place where earth and sky mysteries converge continues to grow. This celestial story adds a powerful dimension to the landscape, inviting us to consider how ancient people might have viewed the heavens and why they attached significance to a stone that now stands beneath those very skies. The valley's tales are not confined to the past, but extend upward beyond the earth, deepening the mystery for every generation that looks up and wonders. The next chapter in Rudston's story reveals a different kind of visitor, one that arrived not from the sky, but from the unyielding march of time and human belief. Christianity's respectful arrival. More than 13 centuries ago, Christianity spread into the pagan kingdoms of England. Pope Gregory the Great instructed missionaries to destroy idols but preserve sacred sites, repurposing them for Christian worship. Rather than erasing the past, this approach allowed continuity, and Rudston stands as a powerful example of that balance, where pagan and Christian traditions merged instead of clashing. The village name, Rudston, comes from the Old English Rudston, meaning cross stone. This suggests the monolith was already central to local identity long before the Norman church was built. The Saxons responded by placing a Christian cross atop the ancient stone, symbolizing transformation rather than destruction. An old monument redefined within a new belief system. Later, during the Norman period, All Saints' Church was built so close to the monolith that both share the same ground. The structure does not overshadow the stone, but seems to acknowledge its presence and authority. For nearly 1,000 years, the church and the monolith have stood side by side, reflecting a rare coexistence of faith and tradition. Even today, caretakers preserve the stone by protecting its weathered top with a cap. This act reflects ongoing respect, treating the monolith not merely as a relic, but as something worthy of care and continuity. It represents a chain of guardianship stretching across centuries. Around the stone lie generations of graves. For hundreds of years, villagers chose to be buried near it, suggesting a deeper spiritual connection. Life events, baptisms, marriages, and funerals have all taken place in its shadow, embedding the stone into the rhythm of community life. The Christian Church's acceptance of the monolith is itself significant. Unlike many pagan symbols destroyed elsewhere, this stone was preserved and incorporated. It was not condemned, but claimed, recognized, as something that could coexist within a new religious framework. Pope Gregory's policy provided the foundation for this approach, and Rudston reflects that vision. By adapting rather than erasing, early Christians preserved both faith and memory, allowing the site's importance to endure through time. Ultimately, the decision to integrate the monolith suggests it was seen as more than just stone. Its presence carried meaning too strong to ignore. Today, Rudston remains a symbol of cultural continuity, a place where belief, history, and mystery continue to stand together. From sky fires to ancient rivers, from enigmatic earthworks to enduring stones, Rudston invites us to consider sacredness beyond simple categories. The next questions linger still. What hidden stories remain beneath the earth? What truths are carried in the union of stone and spirit? The valley holds its secrets close, waiting for those willing to listen. Unanswered questions and lasting enigma. Standing in the churchyard at dusk, the Rudston Valley reveals layers of mystery woven across its landscape. Here, 4 of Britain's oldest and largest prehistoric monuments converge near a bend of a vanishing stream, forming a sacred crossroads unlike any other. At the center stands the tallest monolith in the country, rising over 40 feet when including the portion buried underground. Despite its dominance, its origins and purpose remain unknown. Nearby, Willie Howe looms, a chalk mound covering an empty shaft cut deep into the bedrock. Excavators expected a burial site, perhaps for an ancient leader, but found only emptiness. Alongside the mound and monolith, the dry bed of the Gypsy Race River winds through the valley, known for sudden floods called woe waters, traditionally linked to disaster. Each feature invites interpretation, but together they form a puzzle still unsolved. In the 12th century, chronicler William of Newburgh recorded a strange story from this valley. A traveler passing Willie Howe at night heard singing and was offered a drink by unseen beings within the mound. He escaped by crossing the river, which they could not cross. Blending folklore and history, the tale hints at older beliefs tied to the land. Over centuries, witnesses have reported unusual phenomena: low hovering lights, malfunctioning vehicles, and visitors feeling static shocks from the stone. While not scientifically proven, these consistent accounts deepen the sense of mystery surrounding Rudston. One famous claim about the monolith, supposed dinosaur footprints, was disproven in 2015 when English Heritage used laser scanning to map its surface. No prints were found, only natural weathering and quarry marks. Yet, this only highlights a deeper, more complex history. The churchyard reflects remarkable continuity. Early Christians chose not to destroy the monument, but to incorporate it, building a church beside it and marking it with a cross. For centuries, old and new beliefs coexisted here, showing its enduring importance. Together, the monuments, river, folklore, and artifacts raise a simple but unanswered question: why here? The builders left no records, and archaeology offers only fragments. The Rudston Valley remains a silent enigma, inviting curiosity, imagination, and the sense that its story is far from fully understood. The tallest monolith in Britain stands not just as a stone, but as a monument to mystery, time, and human endurance. From ancient earthworks to celestial events and enduring faith, Rudston's story challenges assumptions and deepens wonder. If you found this journey into Britain's forgotten landscape intriguing, please like and subscribe for more stories that reveal the secrets beneath our feet.